Hi everybody, this is another flying rookie video, and this video number 16 of the major overhaul that I'm making of my VC-450 camouflage quadcopter from HOVERTHINGS. Okay, and this video is version 2.0 of the major overhaul, and also it's going to be the last video that I'm going to make of this aircraft. I'm not going to make any more videos of the VC-450 quadcopter, and there's a reason for that. It's not that I'm going to sell the aircraft, or that I'm not going to fly anymore, or I'm not going to make videos anymore of it. There's a good reason why I decided not to make videos of this aircraft, and I'm going to show you what's the reason I got over here. You see this over here? These arms, they are the 550 arms that are designed to work on the 450. HOVERTHINGS, they do sell two kinds of frames. They sell the 450 and the 550, and basically the center plate is the same. The only difference is the arms. Okay, so I decided to buy the larger arms so I can make this aircraft even more stable. I can put larger props, more powerful motors, and that way I can fly, I can carry more payload, and I can have an aircraft that's going to be more stable to fly. Okay, these Dorino arms that came with the aircraft, you can see, and this is the larger arm. So the Dorino arms, they are like around 50 millimeters, 50 centimeters longer than the arms, and that's like around 2 inches longer. And they are, this type of arm is designed to use two motors if you want to fly on a counter rotating setup, but I'm not going to do that with this. This one is going to work with only one large motor in the top with a large prop. So it's going to be the motor is going to be just a little bit more powerful than the original motor, and it's going to be using a larger prop. So this motor comes with two motor mounts, one in the top and one in the bottom. One in the bottom if you want to do the counter rotating setup that I'm going to do with this. And I got all the hardware. I got motor mounts here, and I got the other motor mounts over here. Okay, so that's pretty much how this thing works. Okay, so from this point on, all the videos that I'm going to make about this aircraft are going to be the VC-550, not the VC-450. Now let me explain what's the deal with this mess over here. You see that I got motors, you see that I got, some center plates. I just show you the arms on the package. Okay, now let's start with why I took this aircraft apart, and why going through all this trouble putting all this new stuff in here. Okay, so the reason that I stopped flying this aircraft is because it was giving me problems with it was tending to fly to the left. It's like the motors, they weren't flying evenly. First I thought the problem was the flight controller, but I took the flight controller, it was the DU-344 from Gaui, and I'm out the flight controller in another quadcopter, and it was flying perfect in the other quadcopter. So then I thought it was the ESCs the problem, and I bought new ESCs for this that I never got to put them in the aircraft. But I said, you know what, let me buy it, and let me, and once I put this aircraft back together, it might be the problem. But then, my other quadcopter, my Gaui 330XS, suddenly a few days ago, right now we are today's like late October 2012. Okay, so like a week ago, my Gaui started, almost a week ago, my Gaui started giving me problems. It was starting to, doing the same exact thing that this aircraft was doing. So I say, it can be the flight controller, because I ruled that out because I test the other flight controller, the Gaui in this aircraft have the same flight controller, and I test both of them in another quadcopter that I have, and they were working fine. So it has to be something else. And I said, well, maybe the ESCs, they weren't bad on my Gaui. And I even saw videos of people on YouTube showing, their own quadcopters. For example, the Gaui 330XS and they have all the motors, it doesn't want to really respond, it doesn't want to work the right way. Like when you give power, you see at least 3 motors that are, you know, revving up normal, and one motor is just like, you know, hesitating or something like that. Yes, it could be the motor might be burned out, but there's all the reasons that the motor might do that problem. It could be the ESC too. The ESC might be bad. But I discovered that this aircraft and the Gaui, that wasn't the case. The reason was something so stupid, so simple to solve, and so cheap to solve, that I wouldn't have to take apart my aircraft and do this major overhaul if I would have found out earlier. Okay, and that's why I insist or be proud of naming my channel The Flying Rookie, because this mistake was a rookie mistake. And the mistake was that the motor was dirty. The motor was filthy. The motor had dust. Okay? If you do RC cars and trucks, especially if you do brushless RC cars and trucks, you know most of the brushless motors, they are sealed. Okay, so even if you're racing off-road, it's not that likely that the motor is going to get dirty inside to the point that the motor is going to lose power. Yeah, the dirt will find its way inside, but it's not going to be like this type of brushless motorsport aircraft. You see these brushless motors, you see this is the motor that I was using on this aircraft. You see you got these big openings in the top, and you got these big openings in the bottom over here. So depending where you fly, you might live in an area that is close to a construction area, construction site, or you might live in the desert. Maybe the sky is just dusty for whatever reason, but also you have to consider the places where you put your aircraft for storage, you know, like in the basement, the garage, and you know how much dust is around the aircraft. That will affect the motor performance. That's going to make the motor work less efficient than the other motors. You know, one motor or a couple motors might get dirtier than the other motors, and it might make the aircraft not fly evenly, because the aircraft thinks that it got 2 motors or 3 motors with more power than one, and then the aircraft is going to fly like sideways instead of flying, you know, stay, you know, level. Okay, and that's what happened with this one, and that's what happened with my Gaui. So, because of the problem that happened with my Gaui, that was the same problem that happened to this, then I said, you know what, it can be the flight control, it can be the ESCs, because I'm getting the same problem. So I said, you know what, the last conclusion that I will have to come up with is that probably the motors are dirty. So I went to the hobby shop. I bought this spray. This is a spray cleaner from Reedy, and this spray cleaner, you use it to clean, you know, any electric motors. Okay, and the nice thing is, you know, once you spray the motor on every corner, on every hole that you can find the motor, once you spray it, it's not going to leave any residue. So you're going to see all the filth, all the dirt, all the dust, everything's going to come down, and the motor's going to be back to new condition, very much. So you have to be careful, because this thing is not only going to clean all the dirt and the dust, it's also going to clean the oil that you got on the bearings. So once you clean the motor with this, you have to use a bearing lubricant. I got this thing over here. It's a bearing oil. This was made by Parma, but you can buy bearing oil from whatever brand out there. Just make sure it looks like this. You got this needle, this little needle over here. It looks like a syringe, and you can, you know, just put it, you know, right next to the bearing. That's the nice thing. You can reach the bearing with this with no problem, and just drop, you know, like three or 4 drops of the lubricant, and the bearing, the motors, they're going to be back into new condition. Okay, so next time you feel that your aircraft is not flying level or evenly, it's because you're going to need this, and you're going to need this. You're going to need to clean the motor, and then you're going to need to lubricate it. And this thing is going to be cheaper than do a major overhaul. There was no need to be done on this aircraft in the first place. Okay, so it's helping you guys to learn from my own mistakes, and that way you don't have to end up doing this. Okay, now let's talk about the updates, the new things that I end up buying that and the new things that I'm doing on this aircraft that I didn't mention on the previous video, on video number 15. Okay, like I mentioned, this is the old motor and this is the old prop. This is the 10-inch by 3/8 APC prop, and this is the Optima from Exceed RC, and this is a 740 kV 2215 motor. Now, this is what I'm going to use on this aircraft right now. These motors, they just came out on the Hobby Parts website, and this is the Rocket motors from Optima. Okay, and you can see you got this beautiful chrome finish in the center of the motor can, and you got this beautiful anodized top and bottom part of the motor. Okay, but this motor, believe it or not, it's the same specifications like the other one. I got the same KVs, the same size of motor and everything. So what makes me buy this motor and use it to replace the other one if this motor is the same? Well, there's two new things about this motor. Now this motor, not that I'm going to do it, now this particular model that I got here is designed to work not only on 3 cells, you can also use a 4-cell LiPo, so this motor can take 14.8 volts. That's something that I couldn't do with the other motor. The other motor was strictly designed for 3-cell 11.1 volts. Okay. The other nice thing about this motor, and probably is the most attractive upgrade that these people did on this motor, is that this motor came with Japanese-made bearings. I saw the video that Hobby Part made about this new lineup of motors. This motor is named the Rocket. The other one is named the Optima. This one is named the Rocket. Okay, this motor comes with Japanese-made ball bearings. Back in the 80s, when I started in the hobby doing RC cars and trucks, pretty much all the ball bearings that were on the market, I would say probably like 99% of the bearings, they were made in Japan, and those bearings, they used to last forever. As a matter of fact, when I had those bearings, I never got to break any of those bearings. They last me forever. Now in the late 90s, when they start bringing bearings from China, that's when things change. Those bearings, you have to, they were a high maintenance, you have to lubricate them all the time, or they will fall apart. Okay, that's when things went south. So this motor, they still Chinese. I got no problem with that. There's a lot of good things that comes with China, but probably one of those things are not the bearings. And I'm happy that they decide to really, upgrade their motors, giving a new look, and putting Japanese-made bearings. These bearings, they are super smooth, and I really feel it. They are super smooth compared to the Chinese bearings. Okay, and I know they're going to last long. There's no doubt about it, because that's the reason they put those bearings in the first place. Because this motor that I got here, I don't have 4 of these motors. I got 6, because 2 of when I first bought the motors, two of the motors that I had, I started hearing the bearings, making noise and everything. And even if I was lubricating the bearings and everything, it didn't correct the problem. So I don't know what kind of size of bearing this thing use. I don't know how to remove them. So I said, you know what, these motors, they cost like $15, so let me just buy two new motors, and that's it. Okay, so now these motors, they're going to last longer because we got these Japanese-made bearings. Okay, so now let's talk about the center frame of the aircraft. Okay, I'll talk about this part before, and these the very center frame is the one that's holding the arms. The lower part of the frame is holding the arms, and as you can see, I got my LiPo arms, and I got the center power distribution board over here. I got this plate that's going to go in the top. This is the top center plate, and you see it's going to be double tabbed over here, but in the other areas they're going to be single tabbed. And the nice thing about these frames with these tabs is that you can use them to, strap like a long battery. You got battery straps, or you can also, mount accessories. That's why I mount these things over here. Now it's double tabbed in the front because This is where I'm going to mount my GoPro camera, either with a GoPro case, or I'm going to use the C Laser Designs gimbal camera mount. So it's going to make the camera mounting more stronger, and it's going to eliminate the vibration on that. So that's why it's double tapped in the front, and you can see that I got the stand-ups over here. Okay, this plate over here, that would be the plate that will go all the way in the top. You see that it got Velcro. And the reason of that is because I'm going to mount a battery over here in the top. Okay, now I got this really long stand-ups or spacers over here in the bottom, and you can see they're thicker than the regular spacers that I got over here. Not only longer, they're thicker, but it works with the same screws that I use on the smaller ones. There are 440 screws, and these large spacers that are over here, I purchased them on Granger, and Granger is a store. It's like a chain of stores that they do sell tools. They sell raw materials for construction, for whatever, for the industry. They sell lubricants, they sell screws, they sell everything that any company, any factory will need to build, goods and products. So I discovered on Google by accident, I found that that company was selling this. I thought it was an online store, and then when I went to contact us to find out where the store was located, it took me to a store locator, and when I went there, I discovered that that company is all over the United States, including Puerto Rico. Okay, so that's where I found that they have all these little parts that you will normally find on a quadcopter aircraft. They have it there, and this part, the nice thing, it keeps the original look that I got on the rest of the aircraft, because you got this dull aluminum material look, and it's really lightweight. So all these four put together, they weigh like 12 grams, or each one weighs 3 grams. So it's really lightweight, so it's going to work fine. It's not going to affect at all the flying performance or the flying time of the aircraft. And they are a little bit thicker. These ones that I got here, that are 1.5 inches, but they have it on 1 inch, and they have it as long as 2 inch. So you can get it on different sizes from Granger. And the nice thing is it takes the same hardware that I use on the rest of the aircraft. Now, what I'm going to mount over here is this bottom plate. This is the plate that is going to hold the flight controller, but also is going to hold a second battery in the bottom. So I'm going to be able to use either 2 batteries in parallel, or just one single battery. So either way, the aircraft is going to be able to hold a lot of electronics and hardware. I'm going to plan. I already got a FPV system that is going to be detachable, so I'm going to be able to install it or remove it. I make a video already of that, and this is the way the center is going to look. It looks kind of like a little building, like a miniature building. You can see the flight control in the bottom. Over here, that's the power distribution board. Over here is going to be the receiver and the telemetry equipment from High-Tech. One battery in the top, one battery in the bottom. So that's pretty much how it's going to work. Now, these are the props that I'm going to use on this aircraft. They are 12-inch by 3/8. So I'm going to see how these props look and how they're going to work in the aircraft. Anyway, I checked the specs of these motors that I got now, and they said that this motor can work all the way up with 13-inch props. So I wouldn't see the 12-inch props to be a problem. So you can see the difference of the size. Well, the prop is in the package, but they are really, this is the center. They are really huge. Okay, but if for some reason I don't like the way they perform, then I can just put back I can put the 12-inch, the 10-inch props into these motors, and that should be okay. Now, to mark the front and the back of the aircraft, I went to Models, that's a sports store, and I purchased these ping pong balls. Okay, so most of the quadcopters out there, when I see people marking the aircraft, including the Gaui 330XX, they use like one single orange ball on the front, and the back doesn't use anything. So what I'm going to use is I'm going to use 2 orange ones. I don't need these 12 balls, but I could save them for future aircraft that I might buy and purchase. I'm going to use 2 of these in the front, 2 orange ones in the front and 2 white ones in the back. So that way I will know what's the front and the back. This aircraft, I'm not going to put lights anyway in this aircraft anyway. I do have another quadcopter that I do use to fly at nighttime, so I'm not going to bother to put lights in this quadcopter. This quadcopter is going to fly on daytime only. So this is the one I'm going to use to mark the front and in the back. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to strap this with Velcro, with zip ties. I'm going to make like 4 little holes. They're going to try to strap it with zip ties because, like I mentioned before, the motor mounts, the arms that I got over here, that are designed to use 8 motors. 2 motors on each arm. So in the lower plate over here, I'm going to, since we got the 4 little holes to mount the motor in the bottom, what I'm going to use is I'm going to poke 4 holes with like a body reamer on these balls, and I'm going to try to put like 2 zip ties to hold the ball into the arms, and that way it's going to stay put in place. So that's the way I'm going to do it, and it should work fine. It should work fine, and I should be able to be aware about the orientation of the aircraft, and that way I won't lose orientation and crash. So that's pretty much how to mark with the front, with the back on this aircraft. Okay, so the final thing that I'm going to talk about is the ESCs. Now in the previous video I mentioned that I'm going to use Castle Creation ESCs. And that part is true, yeah, definitely I'm going to use Castle Creation ESCs. But I'm not using the ones that you saw in the last video of this aircraft, that was the Castle 36M Thunderbird ESC. The one I'm going to use is this one over here. It's the Thunderbird 54. Now, why I changed it again? Well, there's a reason for that. Okay? The Castle 36 that I had, they would be good enough to deal with these motors that I got with the 2215 740 kV. It would be more than enough. But I noticed that those ESCs, they were really small compared to the 30 amp ESCs, Chinese ESCs that I have here. So I said, you know what? I went online and I checked again, the price of this ones versus the 36 amp, and the difference was like $5 of each ESC. So I said, you know what? Why not just buy the 54? And since this one physically is the same size of the 30 amp, and this is the 30 amp over here, you can see it's pretty much the same size. The same size, about the same thickness, weight about the same, it's the same length. So I said, why don't buy the 54? And the nice thing is, when I put a lot of load on this aircraft, at least this thing is going to work relaxed. It's going to work with a motor that is less powerful than it's going to work with a motor that this ESC is going to be able to handle perfectly with no problem. So that's why I bought this ESC. Okay, still this ESC is more expensive than the Chinese counterpart, but it's high quality. You see, I always use Castle Creation ESCs on my RC cars and trucks, and they never gave me any problems. And the most beautiful thing about this is you can hook it up in the computer and you can program that. Most Chinese ESCs on the market is all about Morse code. You have to, use the remote, and you have to move the stick on the remote in different positions, and you have to hear to the beepings and figure out what that one beeping means. 3 beeps means one thing, 4 beeps means another thing. I don't have to do Morse code with this. This thing just go to the computer and I can program it, or I can use this programming card over here. Now another thing that I love about this ESC is that it just got the basic settings that I need to work on a quadcopter. Some of the ESCs on the market, regardless of where they are coming from, they got a bunch of useless features that you will never use on this, and that's why it makes the programming so complicated. For example, as far as I know, because I upload these ESCs already in my computer, not only you get new updates from CAMO all the time, you also get some basic settings for it. Like the last thing I checked, the only thing I could adjust on this is the motor reversing, motor brake, and LiPo cutoff, and that's it. Now, you want more adjustability, you will have to buy the CAMO Phoenix ESCs that are way more expensive. Like these ones, they cost like $37 each, and probably $40 or $50 you will buy 4 Chinese ESCs, but you're never gonna get the quality that you get with these ESCs. And as far as I know, I haven't seen nobody out there flying quadcopters with CAMO ESCs, so at least on YouTube. So I'm gonna try them and see how they work. Probably the people that don't buy it because they're expensive, not for any other negative reason. Okay, and they got come with plenty of wires. So you got these big quadcopters with long arms. I know at least they're gonna reach. But in this case, this particular ESC, I'm gonna cut the wires, and this is something that you have to understand. I called CAMO already. I asked them if I could cut the wires. They told me yes, you can. But if you're using an aircraft that got more than one motor, if you cut the wires on the ESC, they told me that all the 4 ESCs, the wires, they have to be cut the same length. You cannot have one ESC with longer wires than the other one, because then the motors, they're not going to work evenly. Okay, so that's something you got to remember with any ESC. If you cut the wires on ESCs that you're going to use in the quadcopter, make sure all 4 ESCs, the wires are cut the same length. You don't want an ESC that has shorter wires than the other ones, because the motors, they're not going to work evenly, and that's going to affect your flight. Okay, so this is the end of this video. Okay, so and it's also the last video of the VC-450. Now, from now on, the videos that I'm going to make, and probably the next video is going to be the one where I'm going to show this aircraft put together and ready to fly. Okay, so the next videos, they're going to be named the VC-450 camouflage quadcopter. Okay, so please don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, and share. And thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.